Lawyers of Reddit, at what point, when working for a defendant, did you realize my client is a monster? I had a client who was accused of domestic violence. Essentially, he threw his girlfriend out of a second-story window. Now he's got a terrible history, but so do a lot of my clients, and his attitude is a little entitled, also typical. But he also knows the deal and wants a plea deal. So I'm not really prepared when he absolutely refuses the no jail offer from the state. Keep in mind there were like 5 witnesses. Why? Because they wanted him to pay for her medical bills. Okay, an asshole, but whatever, not the worst. What I did was his counter offer. I ain't paying that girl's bills. Tell them I'll pay for the window. Prosecutor was not happy. We had a client try and enforce a post-employment restraint against a 19-year-old receptionist after she quit and started working for a competitor. The reason? He wanted to make her life hell because she wouldn't sleep with him, a creepy 57-year-old man. Him trying to sleep with her was the reason she quit. Unsurprisingly, he didn't take our advice to discontinue his claim, and so we ended up sending him elsewhere. I'll go ahead and say it. When I practiced family law and criminal defense, I trusted and believed my criminal defense clients 100 times more than my divorce/custody clients. The worst monsters are the people who manipulate minor children for custody reasons. Screw them. Luckily, I'm out of that area of law, hopefully for good. Criminal defense lawyer. I can name a few instances where I was just absolutely disgusted with my client. Caveat, these are mostly years ago when I was taking just any old case. I most practice white collar and federal now. I won a DUI case because the government messed up on something right before trial was to begin. My client gives me a hug and completely reeks of alcohol. He has driven to court. I took his keys and called his mother. I represented a woman for a grand theft charge. Left her in my office to get some things copied before she left. After she left, I realized my sunglasses and car keys were stolen. I tracked her down in the lobby and told her I was not going to represent her anymore and I would call the police if she didn't empty her pockets in front of me and give me my things. I had a client who was released after 25 years in prison for murder, and then the same day he beats up his prospective new landlord. He ended up getting another 10 years. He was unrepentant and laughed about how he hit the guy so hard his eyeball popped out. I thought, this guy deserves to be in prison. Took the case to trial anyway, and, shocker, lost and he got 10, the maximum. Client who pretended to be a doctor so he could sell steroids. According to the Gov, he had numerous clients who were made to believe that his steroids would cure their cancer. They paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars and some of them died. I just thought that was pure evil. Defended my client in a lawsuit who defrauded his business partners. Evidence was already overwhelming that my client was liable. Client made matters worse by fabricating evidence and presenting it in court. He got called out on it by his dad's attorney, who had the same evidence. It tanked my client's case. My client continued lying to me despite the overwhelming evidence showing he fabricated evidence. He lost big. In addition to a large judgment, he got hit with several felonies for fabricating evidence. Also, the business partners my client screwed over were his dad and brother. When this person, an executive, said she was firing any employee who had a serious illness or injury, while promoting fundraisers at a local church for cancer sufferers, no less, in part because employees, thinking she'd be sympathetic, would reveal their confidential health info to her. As a law intern, I had to prepare a defense for a huge gov corporation who had denied employment to a man who applied on compassionate grounds. It's a gov policy where, if an employee dies during their term, then their nearest relative, parent/spouse/child, is entitled to get employment in the same company. This man's father had passed away age 60 after working there all his life, and the corporation was rejecting it on a mere technical issue that there was a spelling error in some of his ID documents. Late to the party, but anyways, my first internship in law school was at a matrimonial law firm in a very wealthy area. Think millionaires and billionaires getting divorced. One of the first cases I worked on involved the parents of a victim of a high-profile school shooting. The parents were divorced and had been prior to the death of the child, and were now battling over who would get the victim's compensation fund money and the funds they received from a fundraiser they set up themselves on a GoFundMe type site. These were incredibly wealthy people fighting over what was literal chump change to them, and asking the public to donate to them, as if they needed it. They were so clearly exploiting the death of their child for money and to piss off the other parent. It was honestly one of the most disturbing things I have encountered, ever. Not a lawyer, but a client of one I overheard a case of. This woman, wanting her US citizenship, married an older man who was never hands-on. Basically, when the man went to file taxes, he had someone do it for him. She made a deal with this person. They transferred his entire estate and accounts to her. But her citizenship hadn't been fully established, as this was roughly a week into the false marriage. All of the older gentleman's money and assets were frozen because a foreign citizen owned them. The case is still stuck in legal hell, and I don't know what happened later. Not me, my dad. After he got client out of a double murder charge by insanity plea, he visited the client in the mental hospital, and the client laughed that he had fooled them all and had murdered his intended victims. This was the 80s, there wasn't any recording, and so try as he might, my dad could do nothing due to there being no new facts in the case. Double jeopardy. That was in the early 80s. He never took on another criminal defense case again. Ended up having a 30-year career in real estate and estate law, then became a judge. Not the client, but my managing partner. The client was a senile 90-year-old man. He wanted to sell land worth a little less than $1 billion to some businessmen. Suffice to say, there were many who wanted to take advantage of the situation. One such person, to my dismay, was our managing partner. The partner wanted to insert a provision that would have effectively funneled about 60% of the proceeds solely to him. You could see how his eyes gleamed at the mere mention of money. The provision got lost in the revisions. I was doing the revisions. I'm no longer part of that scummy firm. Lifelong criminal defense lawyer here. To be completely honest, it's not about the offense, but about the person. I've had people accused of murder that I really kind of liked and thought well of. I've had people accused of shoplifting who have given me the heebie-jeebies and seemed like psychopaths. Speaking from purely a criminal standpoint, having a client who is a monster doesn't matter in terms of your duty to them, but it does make the job less pleasant. My worst clients have been people who are comfortable scamming others of their money. I used to work in the info administration side of corrections. I worked with databases to form reports, maintain statistics, and a bunch of other crap. On occasion we would have a lawyer come in and request something on a client from our system. One time I ran a background report for a PD on a client being held for being in possession of stolen goods. The guy was relatively young, and it was his first charge. I said something to the effect of, "At least this will be straightforward and quick." He said, "Yeah, but you haven't talked to this guy or read his psych eval. If he *T* already killed someone, I will be surprised. If he hasn't killed someone in 5 years time, I will be blown the hell away." Not a lawyer, but my daddy's. He has told me the story of why he stopped being a criminal defense lawyer. He got a case with a couple young Russian guys who were charged with securities fraud. My dad worked super hard on the case and got the guys a great deal with some probation, of finance and community service. That night the guys treated my dad to dinner, and on the TV in the bar was a news story about insurance fraud, and one of the guys said, "Hey guys, security fraud is old news, let's try that next," and pointed at the TV. That night my dad came home to my mom and said I can't do criminal defense anymore because he realized the people he was defending were truly bad people. Prosecutor here. Most of us in this profession have the utmost respect for those on the other side of the aisle. Most people really don't know or understand the really screwed up crap that we have to witness and deal with on a daily basis. There's a reason attorneys have the highest percentage of alcoholics by profession. Thank you for watching Internet's Funniest. Please like, share, and subscribe.